100% because 98%. What is more, 68 single adults had the internet at home. Those data are from 2012, and it is 10% more than it was in 2011. And this data showed that in Estonia the number of computer and internet users is still increasing. It means that 8 out of 10 persons aged 16 and 74 have used computers and the internet, and the IT technology is also widespread in older age group. What's important, 60% of citizens in Estonia in the age group between 55 and 64 years old use internet connection, and what is more, 30% in the age group of 65 to 74. So, ladies and gentlemen, Estonia is considered to be a highly advanced in IT technology, so introducing internet voting was seen to be a logical step and the convenience for the society there. A short history of e-voting in Estonia, as I mentioned at the very beginning of my speech. It was 2001 when the first idea of internet voting appeared, and in January 2001, the then Minister of Justice, Mr. Mark Rask, introduced the idea of internet voting in Estonia. Thinking about new form of voting, Rask saw possibility for testing new system in parliamentary elections in 2003. Generally, this is what I mentioned a while before about elections in 2002. Government elections local government elections were seen to be the first one, but finally it occurred that it wasn't this year. The e-voting idea was also strongly advocated by then Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Laar. E-related aspects have been particularly popular in Estonia, such as e-banking, paperless government, or broadcasts of Riigikogu sessions. This everything helped Estonia to develop and become a well-known country, not only in Europe, but also in the world. The Estonian government has been working on the basis of electronic documents instead of using papers since August 2000. And here I would like to pay your attention to the main aims, to the main goals of online voting. The first one was to increase the election turnout, and the second one was to lower and eliminate, finally, political alienation. It goes further. Generally, according to the Estonian constitution, the elections to local government, people who can take part in local government elections are people who reside permanently in the territory of Estonia, and they reside there for more than 5 years. When they are under those conditions, they can vote. This law is guaranteed by chapter number 14, article number 156 of Estonian constitution. All aliens it means that all aliens who have resided in Estonia and have lived in one of the same time at least 5 years have a right to vote at the local elections. A large part of Estonian residents live in the urban areas, what also makes the access to the internet easier and faster. Additionally, it creates wider possibilities for participating in e-voting. There are also some special programs like Village Road, which has been launched to spread internet using skills among all Estonians and enables people, especially in the rural areas and regions, to reach and access to this kind of media. On 27th of March 2002, the Riigikogu adopted the Local Government Council Election Act, and this document gave the right to vote electronically on the webpage of National Electoral Committee on the days in advance polling. The turnout of the first internet elections were not very, the turnout was not very high, because finally it occurred that only 1.85% of people decided to vote in this way. It gives the number of 502,000 inhabitants, but later it was better. This form of voting innovated a truly unique character of elections and brought about both interest in political and scientific community. It was a world premiere when the electorate of an entire country could vote via internet. The next elections, national elections, which were held in 2007, gave better results, and e-voting in Estonia so far was introduced 5 times. It was twice in 2009, European parliamentary elections and local government elections, and later in 2011 in national parliamentary elections. A few words about turnout. So elections 2007 showed that 5.5% of people decided to vote via internet, and it gave a number of 30,000 citizens. So when we compare this number with the first e-voting in Estonia with year 2005, we can notice that the number of people who decided to vote via internet increased almost 3 times. And the turnout of this election was, the total turnout in the country was 61. Elections in 2007 brought also the other and very big change for Estonia, for elections in Estonia. I'm talking about changes we were strongly directed to Russian minority there, because as we know, the number of Russian people who live in Estonia is very big. And generally, in 2007, it was the first time when all instructions and rules were translated into Russian language. So it helped a lot to encourage Russian-speaking people to take part in elections there. And elections in 2009, as I said before, we had online voting twice, European Parliament and local government, and on June the 7th, 2009, Estonians elected their 6 representatives to the European Parliament, and the voters had the possibility to use internet during 1 week in advance voting period. 1 week, it was longer than previous, because during the first and the second online elections, Estonian people could vote only for 3 days, so this time was prolonged for them. And the number of people who decided to take part in online elections in Estonia in 2009 was 14.9%, and it gave a number of 58,669 people. So it showed that still the number of people who decided to vote via internet was increasing. And local elections in 2009, the number of people who decided to vote via internet was 15.8%, and it was 9.5% of all people who decided to vote, who participated in these elections. So we still can notice that the number of people who use online voting is increasing. And last internet voting in Estonia, it took place in 2011. On the 6th of March, Estonia held those elections, and those elections also lasted 7 days, 1 week. It was from 24th of February till the 2nd of March. And what is interesting, 24.3% of people decided to use internet voting, and it was 15.4% of all people who voted. Okay, and here in this slide you can see a comparison between all online elections in Estonia, local elections 2005, later parliamentary elections 2007, European Union Parliament elections 2009, local elections 2009, and parliamentary elections in 2011. And what's interesting, when we compare the first and the second online elections, we can notice it is this blue color, the first blue. We can notice that the biggest number of people who decided to participate in online elections was during the first day. And the same in 2007. When we take a look at the elections in 2009, this is this green color, we can notice that the number of people who voted during the first and the last day was almost equal. And the same story with elections, local elections in 2009. But when we take a look at the elections in 2011, we can see that generally the biggest number of people decided to vote during the last days of elections, and the highest number during the last day. And here a little bit about e-voters by age, taking into consideration those elections from 2005 to 2011. And we can see that the biggest number of people who vote is between 25 and 34 years old, but also people who are between 35 and 44 vote very actively. And what's surprising, the number of people who are 45 and older also vote, including a group of people over 55. But the smallest number of people who decide to use internet as their voting source is up to 24. So it shows that generally it is not because lack of internet skills, but lack of political interest. And a little bit about voters by gender. So as we can see, generally the number of men and women who decide to use internet is almost equal. During the first and the second online elections, a bigger number of men participated in this, and later it was changed a little bit, but frankly speaking, the number is almost equal, so we can say that both women and men participate in online elections in the same, almost equally. And conclusions. So we can say that electronic voting in Estonia is a supplement to traditional way of voting, and it is important. And the idea is not to replace the previous traditional system. Online voting is to give voters the possibility to vote from the election on their choice without necessity of going to the station pool. What's important? And upcoming elections in Estonia will be held on the 20th of October 2013, local government elections, so this year, and later European parliamentary elections. And finally, in 2015, Estonian government is planning to introduce parliamentary elections also with online voting. As I said at the very beginning of my presentation, Estonia is seen as a small country, but with big possibilities with online voting. And online voting is also a big step towards further development and modernization. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm sorry for such technical problems which interrupted my presentation for a while. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask a question. When you're using internet elections, there is a very big problem, I suppose, to make these elections to determine the voice. So, what is the technical decisions for this? Is it electronic sign, or what is signature? Or what is it?
Generally, in Estonia, it is much easier because we have to remember that the number of people who live in Estonia is small. Because at the very beginning of this year, 2013, the number of people who lives in Estonia is 1 million and less than 300. So generally, counting counting the voice is much easier, and they do it electronically, and it works like e-banking system. For example, when you pay your bill and you use internet, you have a special username and a special password, and the same there. So if you are 18 years old or more, you get a special e-voting number and password, and you log on the special page, and it is counted by system. Of course, people check it later, but generally it is system what counts the voices. But as I said at the very beginning, it is very easy in Estonia because of number of people. Because I said that it is 1,300,000 inhabitants, but we have to remember that not all of them have the right to vote, because the number of people who can vote nowadays, it is less than 1 million. And of course, we can distinguish parliamentary elections where you must be a citizen of Estonia if you want to vote, and local government elections where you don't have to be a citizen, because if you are a representative of national minorities there and you live there more than 5 years and you have special papers, you can take part in these elections. But the number of people who can vote is less than 1 million, so it's much easier. Thank you very much.
I have a question. You said that every citizen who through internet has a couple login and password. Doesn't it mean finally that the government of Estonia knows perfectly well how every citizen votes? Their choice.
Generally, it shouldn't be given to the public knowledge. But you are right, yeah, because generally everything is in system, yeah. So if you are very interested in this and you have if you work in a given institution, I think that you have a possible. It is highly possible that you can check for how a given person voted, yeah. But Estonian government doesn't speak about it too much, and but it is the truth, yeah. That it's the same like other internet transactions. That if you do any transaction via internet, you can be checked, and it is the truth that this system maybe is not as perfect one as should be, but it is still very convenient, I think, yeah? So it depends on you, because you still have a choice, yeah? You can go to traditional polling station and get a paper and vote, and if you want, if you have a wish, you can use internet, yeah? So if you want to be sure that nobody will know your decision, I think that it is better to go to the traditional polling station. It is also the truth. It is also the truth. I agree with you.
I guess the main effects of e-voting is economical. What are the positive effects of this
e-voting system? Generally, it is a big convenience, yeah, for inhabitants to vote via internet, because as I said at the very beginning, you have to go, you can be at any location and you can vote, yeah. And on the other hand, one of the main goals of this was to encourage people to vote. But generally, it is not only in Estonia, but generally the goal of e-voting is to encourage, to make it easier for people to vote, yeah? If you have this choice, this chance to vote via internet, and you don't have to go to the polling station, it's easier. but not all of people decide to choose it. Estonian people also check this system, yeah, because as I showed in my presentation, at the very beginning, I mean in local elections in 2005, the number of people who decided to vote in this way was 1.87%. And later this number was growing, and later as I showed you the slide about the age of people who decide to vote, we could notice that people between 25 to 45 vote the most actively, participate the most actively, but also people who are older. And I showed that people who are less than 24 who should be engaged.
What about disabled too?
Disabled. I'm sorry, I didn't understand this. So but disabled people. But you mean, for example, people who can't go to the polling station? Generally, in this old system, it works in that way that if somebody couldn't go to traditional polling station, there was a special official representative who could go to his home and he could vote. Yeah, and nowadays online elections make it easier because nobody has to go to his or her home because he or she can vote via internet. Of course, we can talk about many examples that maybe somebody can't log to this page, yeah? So it depends on the example, but disabled people vote also in this way.
Excuse me, I'm just wondering, actually this system of e-voting, of course, via internet is very convenient for people, it's obvious, but there are some possibilities of making mistakes.
Of course that there are.
For example, one who wants to manipulate, is it excluded the possibility, for example, to take a part in the voting in ordinary by paper, and at the same time, for example, this person could vote via internet? Isn't this possibility is excluded?
Yeah,
because it's a way for manipulation.
It is excluded because generally, if you decide to vote via internet, and later, as I said in my presentation, online voting is always earlier. So generally, before the final day of elections, it is stopped. Generally, it stops 2 or 3 days before the main election day. And if you decide to vote via internet and later you go to the traditional polling station, your online vote will be annulled, so it will be cancelled. And so the people in traditional polling station know that you voted via internet because everything is in the system, yeah? So it is impossible for you to vote twice. And it is impossible that your vote will be counted twice.
Okay. And one more question. We have actually the tradition of anonymous voting. So actually the government doesn't know for whom you are voting to, okay? So, but via internet, actually the government have a possibility to count for whom it was voted. But
it's the same question. Yeah, I answered for this a while before. Generally, as I